My name is John McCandless from Wellington IT, and today I'm going to talk to you about our cash control module and give you a short demonstration on how it works. Cash control is a module in Scion that allows the credit union to control and monitor any cash coming into and out of the credit union from the counter right through to the cash room. So I'm going to show you how it works in the counter program, how it looks for the teller, how they open up for the day and put their float into their till, and take a look at how their cash session will look throughout the day as they transact for members. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is how the teller opens up their cash session for the day and gets their till ready. So the teller still opens up the counter program as normal. And in the background, Scion will automatically create a cash session for that teller. So we'll just take a quick look at the cash session that Scion has created, and we can do that by going into our action types and looking for cash session. So we can see there our cash session on the screen. So at the minute there's no cash in the till at all. So the first thing the teller would do in the morning is to fill their till, and that would be by a cash transfer entry, and essentially what that is the teller putting their morning float into the till. So the teller can enter their float themselves, or the float can be entered by someone in the cash room. It's completely up to the credit union, and how that's done is through cash transfer entry. So you can access cash transfer entry from your action types in the counter program. And select cash transfer entry. So the first thing we'll select is our transfer type, which will be an advance. So we just look up our transfer types and select advance. Next then we'll select from container code, which is our safe, so which safe that the money is coming from. So for this example, we'll select the main safe, and then we select the two container code, which is the teller's operator code and their till code. So we can enter in the breakdown of the cash that the teller is receiving. Enter in 5,000. So we'll enter in their opening float. And just accept that. And the teller will also get a receipt to the receipt printer for that transaction. So once we've carried out the transfer, if we take a look at the cash session in Scion, again, we call up our action types and we go into cash session. And we can see now that the teller's till has a balance of 5,000 cash. So now we'll take a look at how the cash session looks and how the figures are recorded as the teller transacts throughout the day. So the first example we're going to do here is we're going to make a cash lodgement into a member's account. So we're going to lodge 500 cash to the share balance. So if we now take a look at the cash session after we've made that lodgement, we can now see that the cash balance in the till has increased to 5,500. So that's our 5,000 float that we entered in, and also the 500 lodgement that we've just taken from the member. So the next example we're going to have a look at is the teller carrying out a withdrawal transaction on a member's account. And then I'll show you how that looks in the cash session. going to withdraw 400. And we're going to withdraw that as cash. So if we have a look at our cash session now, we can see that our till balance is now sitting at 5,100. So because we've done that withdrawal as cash, the system knows to minus the balance in the till by 400, because the teller is physically paying the cash out of their till. Okay, so now I'm going to show you an example where the teller withdraws money from the member's account, but this time it's not paid out as cash, it's paid out by a check. Or this example would be the same if you paid money out of an account via CT. So now if we take a look at our cash session, we can see that because we paid out that cash via check, or it could have been a CT, that it has no impact on your cash session, so your balance is still sitting at 5,100. So it's purely just the physical cash that's in your drawer. Okay, so next I want to show you how the teller is able to advance money to themselves throughout the day to help them pay out withdrawals and loan drawdowns, and also how the teller can send money back to the cash room throughout the day if they notice that their till has a lot of cash in it. So the first one we're going to look at then is an advance from the cash room to the teller's till. So to do that, we use our cash transfer entry. So back to our action types, and we look for cash transfer entry. So we look up our list of transfer types. And it's also just worth mentioning here that all these transfer types are controlled by role permissions. So the teller won't necessarily see all these transfer types in here. So there's things that are like bank lodgement, bank delivery. They can be hidden from the teller, so they can't be selected when the teller is doing a cash transfer, and you would only then give permission to your cash room staff to be able to access those cash transfer types. So this is an advance. So this is advancing money from the safe in the cash room out to the teller's till. So again, the teller selects which safe they are transferring from. So we'll select the small safe, and then the teller enters in their container code, which is their operator code, and then they enter in their cash that they're taking out of the safe. And select, and again the teller will get a receipt for that transaction. So if I take a look now at my cash session, you can see that my cash is now sitting at 10,200. So that's my opening till balance, my opening float from that morning, any transactions that I've taken from the member, minus any money I've paid out, plus my advances in. So now we'll take a look at how the teller sends that money back to the safe if they have too much sitting in their cash drawer. So again, we use our cash transfer entry. Only this time we select lift. So this is doing the opposite as an advance. So the teller enters in their till code as the from container code and then selects which safe they're sending the money back to. This example will send 10,000 back. And if we take a look at our cash session now, we can see our balance in our till is now 200. So now I want to show you the cash session screen and just show you what details are displayed on that screen. So now I want to look at our cash session screen in Scion and just go through some of the details on the screen that's available to the teller. So on this screen here, the teller is able to see their totals for what they have taken in for the day. So they can see their total lodgements up here in the top right. They can see their totals that they paid out by cash, just here. And they can also see the total that they paid out by external check. And then down here under our expected till, we can see that our total is 200, and that is the amount that the teller should physically have in their cash drawer. So down at the bottom part of the screen, we've got some more totals. So we've got our advances from the safe. So that's our morning float that we put in of 5,000, plus we done an additional advance of 5,000 from the safe to the till. Over here we can see what we paid out, money out. So we paid out £400 in cash. And down here then we can see what lifts we've done back to the safe. We can see we've done a lift there for 10,000 cash. So at the bottom of the screen here too, we have some buttons, and I just want to show you what information is available behind those. So we've got our view batch details. So if the teller selects view batch details, it takes them into the display batch, and the teller is able to see a breakdown of all the money in and money out throughout the day in a bit more detail, and they can look at their individual transactions, their cash, internal checks, external checks, checks received, and get their balance breakdown for the day. And then we have our view cash transfer, so the teller can select this option and they can view all the cash transfers that have been done for that day. So we can see both our lifts, and we can click on the details tab and it gives a bit more information. The teller can see what time of the day it was done on. They can see what reference number they entered for the lift. And they can also reprint the receipt for that lift from the screen. So next we're going to look at how the teller cashes up then at the end of the day. So still within the cash session details screen, the teller will click on record closing till figures, and you can see over here that the expected till is 200 cash. So the teller needs to count the cash in their drawer and enter it into the screen. So we'll just enter in So once the teller has entered in all the cash that they physically have in their drawer, they click OK. And down here we'll see that the shortfall is showing as 0. So that means that the till is balanced. If the till didn't balance, the teller would see what the difference is in this shortfall box here, and it would show in red if there was a shortage, and it would show in blue if there was an overage. So once the teller has balanced their till, they click on the close session and confirm that they want to close their till session, and that's their session closed then for the day. So now I'm going to show you how the cash room manages cash deliveries into the credit union and cash lodgements out of the credit union. So this is done in cash transfer entry. And the cash officer would select either bank lodgement or bank delivery. So we'll look at bank lodgement first, and we'll select then our safe that the lodgement is coming from. So we will be able to see over here the current balance of the safe, and we'll be able to enter in the lodgement amount that is going out to the bank. Down here we can enter in our reference number, which could be your lodgement slip number, and accept that. And again, the cash room should get a receipt for that lodgement. So now I'll show you how we record a bank delivery on the system. The cash room officer will select bank delivery, and they will select which safe that delivery is going into. Accept. So that's how the cash room manages money in and money out of their safes. So the last thing that I want to show you is the reports on the cash control module. So the first report we're going to look at is our CACO BAL. And this is our cash container balances report. So this report would be used at the end of the day by the cash room officer to balance up all safes in the credit union. Just run it here. So this is our CACO BAL report. So in here we can see our balances of all our safes. So if we look here, we can see our main safe and our small safe, so we can see the balances in them. And the balances will change throughout the day as tellers are lifting and advancing to these safes, and also the cash room are recording bank deliveries and bank lodgements. So at the end of the day, the cash room would run this report and make sure that the balances on the report match the balances that are in their safes. Down here on our CACO BAL, we can also see our shortfall. So this records any overages and shortages for the day. And down here below, we can see the balances of any tills that are currently open. So this can be run at any time throughout the day to give you a quick snapshot of what cash is actually available in branch. Okay, so the last report that I want to show you then is your cash container transfer report. And this report gives a breakdown of all the cash transfers that have been carried out in the day. So if we take a look here, we can see one of our safes in the cash room, we can see the opening balance. We can see any lodgements that have went in, any lodgements that have went or any went out of it, and also then our closing balance. So at the end of the day, if the cash room were to notice a discrepancy in one of the safes, this would be a report that they would look at, to look at all the transfers in and the transfers out of all the safes. And they should be able to see on this report if there's been a transfer done in error. It should stand out on this report, and they can then rectify the problem pretty quickly.
Okay, so now we've got Michelle from Member First with us, and Michelle works as a finance officer for Member First Credit Union, and they have recently just implemented the cash control module across all their branches.
So prior to the cash module, we used our end of day, and throughout the day as well was used via an Excel system that we created that had various controls in it, formulas that were locked down and things like that. The team at the counter would periodically throughout the day balance up their till, and if they had things such as checks and coin or excess cash that they wanted to lift from their drawer and bring to the back office, it was all recorded manually. On hindsight, when we look back, it was basically on a piece of paper that was assigned to the teller on a daily basis. They would document what they're handing in throughout the day, and then at the end of the day it was second checked, and the information was then logged on an Excel document, which was updated throughout the day and then saved down as well. That was something that we just implemented. We had our own policies and work instructions surrounding that as well, but it was a very manual process and easy to, I suppose it would have been very easily to make mistakes in the event that maybe a formula that was hidden, amongst any cells on Excel was removed accidentally. It could throw out some of the figures as well. And it also meant that things like carrying forward figures, closing amounts from the day before, moved into the following day, might be recorded incorrectly if it wasn't carried forward properly. So looking at all the various elements to it, that was one of the reasons why we decided to explore what the cash module was going to look like. Well, what we did was we decided to implement it in one of our branches first. We rolled it out there, and it was our busiest branch of the 8 offices that we have. We decided to jump in at the deep end and go with our busiest office. As our theory was, if we can make it work there, it can certainly work in any of the other ones. When we rolled it out, we discussed it with the staff that morning, and they were aware that there was obviously going to be a change, but we didn't want to say too much, for the fear of, some people kind of have some people are a little bit averse to change. They kind of find it hard to move on to something different. But when we rolled it out, we had Wellington on site with us for 2 days. And it was very much a step-by-step process. As the morning happened, this is, we were stood over and we were told exactly what was going to happen, how it would be, how it would look, what the information would mean, all these sort of things. When we would get to, say, our break times and the team were doing a balance and they wanted to lift money out of their tills into the back office, we were able to kind of stand over them and step by step with them, with each team member as it was happening, and it was done periodically, obviously, throughout the day. And then when we got to the end of the day, the team were there and they were able to be shown just how simple it was. So although we thought it was going to be a massive operation to change over something like this, it wasn't as invasive, or it wasn't something that we were when we look back on it, we thought it was going to be a massive big overhaul and it was going to take us ages. Previously, it would have taken us a good half an hour to complete the end of the day between tallying up the teller's tills, counting everything, whereas now it takes us maybe about 10-15 minutes at an absolute max.
control module?
Yeah, it definitely has major benefits for us. From one side of it, there's the control perspective, which was something that when we implemented it at the end of the summer last in 2019. So we had this implemented for our year-end audit when we completed our accounts. So it was something that, because it was a change in our processes, our auditors zoned in on it in particular. And when they looked at it from the control perspective, they could see that the system itself couldn't really be manipulated to read as something different, whereas previously when it was in Excel, it could be changed to kind of suit things, if for want of a better word. Formulas could be changed, figures could be taken from the previous day and altered, to suit the next day, things like that. So from the controls perspective, the system couldn't be fooled, and there was a very clear audit trail of all the transactions that were happening. So from that element of things, from the finance side of things, we were very happy that we were able to document that anything that was happening there was a paper trail for it, and a very visible one. As well as that, from the account side of things, when we would, for example, things like lodgements to the bank, whether it was cash or checks or coin, anything like that, again, we were able to see exactly what it is that the team were doing. There was reference fields for them to note things into us, whether it be the lodgement docket or the cash bag numbers. All that information was there. We didn't really have to converse with the teams in all the various branches, because the system was able to relay that information to us without having to talk to them on a one-to-one basis. And then the other side of it, what we did notice massively, and we've been auditing this for the last 6 months at this stage, was we noticed a big difference in terms of discrepancies, whereby, again, if somebody said that they were lifting €500 from their till into the back office, the system was documenting that, whereas previously something as simple as somebody's dodgy handwriting and information could be recorded incorrectly on an Excel, whereas now, if they're documenting it as €500, that's what goes into the system. And we've noticed a big improvement even in terms of the discrepancies, and our overs and shorts have reduced as well, because again, the trail is there. We can see exactly what it is that everybody's doing. Yeah, so one of the things that we have in out of our 8 offices, 3 of them have the cash machines, which is a self-service machine. And again, we've noticed in particular in those offices where the volume of cash, both coming in and going out, would be very, very high based on the demographic of the areas. We decided to implement the machines, and we've noticed again a massive improvement in terms of the cash up side of things at the end of the day, because the team are able to lodge the funds directly into the machine. If they're saying that they're putting in €1,000, the machine will note that teller number 1 put in €1,000, it counts it and confirms the money back. The teller records that into the cash module as €1,000. And if at the end of the day the machine will read to say it has 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, whatever it might be, and we read the cash module to say, well, the cash module says it has 50,000 in it based on the transactions that the tellers have done. If it's a case that for whatever reason that there might be a difference, it can be investigated. And again, because the machine is saying teller number 1 put in €500, but when teller number 1 went back to Scion, they only recorded €400. So there's a very clear paper trail of exactly what each person is doing. And with the cash machines, it basically produces the same level of information, so you can match like with like in terms of making sure that somebody has followed exactly what it is that they're saying they've done.
Well, that's great, Michelle. Thank you for taking the time today to be part of our cash control demo. So that's everything we're going to show on cash control. So thanks for watching, everyone.